Hello, friends, and welcome to Brotherly Love Gaming, the show where two brothers talk through the past, present, and future of our lives in gaming. My name is Alex, and with me today is my brother Spence.
What's up, guys?
So, behind the scenes here, if you saw our last video on Nintendo, the Nintendo Direct, we are recording this immediately afterwards.
Surprise, surprise.
Because we needed to talk about Kingdom Hearts 3. Now that we have both finished it. So Spence took about 5 days. It took me about 2 weeks.
5? It took me 2.
2 days? Okay, 2 days.
I beat it the Thursday after it came out. It
Did
came
you?
out on Tuesday.
Okay. All right. 2 days. And then 2 days.
Give credit where it's due.
2 weeks for me.
Or maybe 3 days. It might have been Friday. I'm not sure.
I forget what day we were.
2 or 3.
But regardless, we're both done now. And we wanted to talk about it. So,
Yes.
Do you want to start off, since I'm sure you've just been bottling up your opinions for 2 weeks now?
Yeah. Okay. So, major spoilers ahead, disclaimer.
Yeah, we're going to spoil the entire game now.
If you plan on playing the game, do not watch this video. I'm warning you now. Don't give me the crap in the comments that we didn't warn you. So, some major points here.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about in the last video where you were like, "Oh, I'm not sure what Vexen is about."
Yeah,
and also how the four are the chosen ones from Xemnas to the four organization members,
right?
Implying that they had Keyblade history or something like that.
Yeah, the Keyblade legacy, I think, was the phrase he used.
Yeah. So let's just start by saying, holy crap. Vexen just was like, nah, screw this. I want to atone. I'm on Ansem the Wise's side.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want anything to do with Ansem or Xemnas and Xehanort. I want to be on the good side. Now, all of this relates to the girl that is unnamed throughout the whole game. My notes are all over the place. I had a few key things I wanted to touch on that were related to the very end of the game.
Right.
The maze at the very end. Well, let's just start about the Keyblade graveyard in general. That whole thing where you start to travel there to the very end. What are your thoughts?
Just as like a set piece, I thought it was cool, especially that you. Not that it actually like really affects anything, but you're kind of given a choice of like, who do you want to go try to save first, you know? Because I'm like, oh, obviously I'm going to go save Riku first. Then okay, obviously I'm going to go save Kairi first, you know? And I don't think it actually matters at all which way you go. I'm sure all the cutscenes are the same. But I thought that was a nice little, way to make it feel important. And I thought it was cool that you kind of basically get to fight like multiple boss level enemies at the same time, which is a really cool challenge at that point in the game. And then the fact that each character then also gets like their own little moment at the end as you kill them, I thought was also pretty cool.
And some of them don't make sense because like it doesn't show the other person that you're fighting with, and like how are you having this specific moment?
Yeah, the other person's just waiting. Yeah,
just chilling, like, hey, yep, I'm gonna let you have your moment, but the fight's got to continue. It doesn't make sense, but it is really cool. I like how each of them have their own little reasoning. Most of them are like, yeah, I hated the organization. Thank you for setting me free, basically, which is cool. Kind of a good way to wrap things up, and they all basically are like, now that I'm gonna be a somebody again, I hope we can become friends, which is cool. I think the only one that doesn't do that is Larxene, because she's just,
yeah, because she's got kind of her own weird deal, and she even says that like she was just along for the ride, and then so it's like, what ride? And she just says that that's her secret,
Yeah.
And I'm sure that ties into, her background, the whole Keyblade legacy thing that was alluded to. Vanitas also doesn't repent at all, but dude's just literally darkness personified. So why would he?
Yeah.
I thought that's kind of neat when they're like, you have a choice about who you can be. He's just like, yeah, I know, and I choose to be evil. And then he just like peace out, homies, and then just disappears into the darkness. And I was like, all
Can we just
right.
talk about that whole? Well, actually, not even the Ventus part. Well, although that was cool. Well, actually, that's another point I wanted to touch on. The Terra thing that you texted me. You were like, "What?"
Oh, right.
So Terra was the freaking shadow
Yeah.
from literally Kingdom
Apparently
Hearts
the
1
whole
the whole
time.
time.
Yeah.
Literally the whole time we had Terra right in front of us, and we like that was mind blowing when I
Yeah,
saw that.
that
I was
was a
like,
really cool twist.
I
And
was
I
like,
actually,
holy crap!
I remembered after the fact that I had seen, like on Reddit or maybe on YouTube, I had seen someone like make the case that that was true. And I was just like, no, okay, whatever, and didn't like give it much thought. And then like when it actually happened, I was like, no, wait, this actually does make a lot of sense, and this is really awesome, and I love it.
Yeah, yeah,
So props to
that
whoever
was
that
super
person was who
cool.
called it in advance, because
Yeah.
that was really great.
Uh,
He's got another great moment when the Lingering Will shows up and fights back against Terranort, and then
yeah,
turns his Keyblade into a cannon,
yeah.
and that's pretty sick. I like that moment too. Which apparently,
Yes.
though, to address like a potential flaw of the game is that so like that part happens because you when you talk to Naminé in the last world, she's like, oh, I found like Terra's memories. I might be able to do something, and like I had the thought, oh, she's gonna contact the Lingering Will somehow. Okay, that makes sense. So then when he showed up, I was just like, hell yeah. But I saw a lot of people that apparently like you don't actually have to talk to Naminé in the final world at all. You can just totally miss it.
Yeah.
So a lot of
I
people,
went around and talked to all of them.
yeah, so did I. And then, well, I talked to I think like three or four of them, and then I talked to the mystery voice, and then was like, oh, at least one of these has a voice. More of them might have a voice. And then I found Naminé, and then the rest of them didn't have voices, as far as I know, anyway. Um, so I got it that way, but I saw some people being like, "Yeah, I didn't even talk to Naminé in there, so I had no idea." And then the Lingering Will just shows up, and I was like, "What the hell?" But cool
Right.
moment, I think. Cool moment.
I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, the Keyblade Graveyard, I think, as a whole. I mean, as I was texting you as I was finishing the game, it took me like 2 or 3 days, I think, to play through the entire ending because it's a long as hell ending. From the time drive to the fly to the eclipse to land in the Keyblade Graveyard to the time
That
you
part was the most
actually finish the
frustrating part.
game, the Gummy Ship battle.
Well, not the battle itself, but getting there was just such a pain in the ass. Like it was just like twists and
Confusing,
turns, and yeah,
driving
I was
around
like,
inside of a spaceship,
yeah.
basically.
Um, but I thought that whole bit was really cool. Like Master Yen Sid swoops in, it's just
Mm-hmm.
like I'll hold them off, and then right before literally everyone dies, Donald like sacrifices himself to blast.
Zetaflare.
Yeah, which was so cool, and everybody's like, "No!" And Sora's like, "Yeah, that was awesome." And he's like, "Wait, what just happened?"
Yeah,
And then the tornado swoops in and kills everybody, and Sora's like, dead but not dead. I thought that was weird. I also really like. This is weird, but I really thought there was going to be like an achievement or something for trying to collect all the Soras that were like flying around. So I literally just like ran around and collected like, what are you supposed to collect? Like 100?
111, I think.
Yeah, I literally collected like 250, and I was just like, this is pointless. Like, I'm not getting
That's
anything
fine.
extra for this. So then I just finally went back, and I was like, okay. And then all that happens, and then you see the Union Cross players' names, and you're just spamming
That
it.
was awesome.
Yeah, I was like,
That
holy crap, that's so cool.
like in a game full of oh my god, I love this moments. That might be like my favorite like moment
Yeah,
because you're watching just being like, what the hell is Sora going to do? And then I guess the Femmer's heart or something shows up, and then all the Keyblades come, and then it's just Union Cross, and you're just all the names of players scrolling by. I was like, that's what a great touch, what a great shout out to fans, basically.
yeah,
And I
I
feel
thought
like
that was cool.
that might be my sort of general feeling about the game in general. Like the thing with the Lingering Will moment, some people being like, oh, it's just fan service. Like kind of the whole game is fan service in a way, but not like in a cheap way. I think in a sense that they were like, they knew what they had to accomplish in terms of like the story beats and the cool moments. to satisfy people that have been following it and really investing in the lore, for as long as we have.
Yeah,
I personally feel like they really delivered on that, even though there are some threads that are left dangling, which we'll
which
probably get
I'm gonna get to.
when you rescue Aqua. That's amazing. You get to fight Shadow Aqua
Yeah,
or
that was
Anti-Aqua, whatever.
awesome.
And then you save her. Great moment when you save her. And then you immediately go to Castle Oblivion, turn it into the Land of Departure.
Which I was like, holy shit, that's so cool.
Yeah. And then you go to rescue Ventus, and then Vanitas shows up, and then just watching, and then Aqua's like, "No, I'm gonna fight him," and I'm like,
Yeah, my ears perked up. I'm like, wait a second, did I hear that right? I get to
"Wait,
play as Aqua?
wait, yeah," and then you get to play as Aqua, and I think I texted you what my reaction was, but I was just literally like, "Holy crap, I love this game," just
Yeah.
because. I mean, maybe it's dumb, but just being able to play as Riku 2 or 3 times and getting to play as Aqua even once is enough to make me be like, this game gets kind of what I wanted out of it,
I have one complaint about that, and I was gonna get to it, but another really, really awesome moment, in my opinion, comes very shortly after this, and it's in the Keyblade graveyard during the whole maze, is when evil Riku is living inside of Riku, and he's like, "Here's a replica," and he's like, "No, save yourself." He's like, "Nah, there's already a Riku here. You guys don't need me." It's like, "You're sacrificing yourself for Naminé," and I was like, "Holy crap, that's so cool." And
Right.
then shortly after, when you're with Kairi and Lee,
Mm-hmm.
and you're
Shion's
fighting
there.
you're fighting a hooded person with a keyblade, I'm like, I knew Shion was going to be in this game, and I knew that it was
Right.
going to have relevance. And then as soon as Shion realizes that, and they're about Axel's Lee is about to lose, that's what saves Roxas to come out, and he's just like, then you fight Shion, or you fight with Shion and Roxas. And my only complaint was like, damn it, I really wanted to play as Roxas,
Yeah.
but
Especially
I,
because you can see how powerful he is in that battle too. He just
oh yeah, he's just
owns that
messing
battle.
everything up. That's what I mean. I was like, I wanted to play as Roxas so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I thought it was really cool that finally Sora and Roxas got to fight on the same side. I was like, this is everything I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of how I think. Again, the whole game is just yes, that's what I wanted to
Same
happen.
thing.
Yes.
Same thing with Aqua and Ven fighting alongside Sora. It's like
Mm-hmm.
everybody wanted that. Come on,
Mm-hmm. We get to see Ventus and Roxas in the same shot at one point. It's all
yeah, it
like
all
it all.
came full circle.
Yeah, I was actually, for whatever reason, I wasn't expecting Shion to show up at the end as one of the villains, because they had been they had foreshadowed that there was a third heart connected to Sora's, and I just assumed that must be Shion. And then, rather than them sort of doing anything with that, they ended up having it be what they did, which is, oh, she's evil, but actually not evil. She's being used as one of their vessels, but actually, she'll be good. So I think that was a nice way to handle that moment, I guess. And
Yeah, and then the touching moment between Lee, Roxas, and
yeah, everybody gets to hug.
her. Yeah, the one clever thing they did. I know we're literally all over the place because there's just so much information that we haven't talked about yet. I love the scene where everybody's all gathered in Master Yensid's, and Axel is just he's like, oh my god, just another thing we have to explain.
Yeah, he's there's so much backstory or something like that.
Yeah, and he's like, wait, you remember me? And Ven's like, yeah.
Yeah, we're
and
friends.
He's like, and I'm like, yo, this is so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked all that stuff. And then you have, before talking about those ending moments again, you had referred to the Keyblade Legacy people. So you have when Marluxia dies, I guess, fades away. He mentions about how he remembers who he was, which I think is interesting because we pretty confidently know that he is was one of the Union leaders in Union Cross, so he is a Keyblade wielder himself. Which is sort of, I mean, like you said, Xemnas refers to that. But we've only actually seen Lorium, Marluxia, and Elrena Larxene in that game. So
Yeah.
um,
I
so,
thought. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so him saying that he like remembers, he's starting to remember himself, I think is very important at the end there.
Something I thought they did well was the whole thing with Syx and Axel. I'll call him Axel because I hate calling him Lee.
I think the game hates calling him Lee too because he keeps telling everybody to call him Axel.
Yeah, exactly, which is funny. And I thought that was funny when Ven was like, "Wait, who's Axel?"
Yeah.
And then he's like, that's when he goes, "Oh, great, just more we have to explain." But the whole thing between Axel and Syx, and then he's like, you fell to that, and he's like, "I'll see you soon, Isa." And then at the very end, like all of them are sitting up on top of the clock tower, just munching ice cream. I was like, that was a nice touch.
Yeah. Yeah. They get
okay, so now instead of gushing over really awesome scenes, couple things I want to address. One thing that really pissed me off to begin with when it first happened, Xehanort takes Kairi, and then he just hacks her down right in front of you, and I was like, you have got to be kidding me.
Murders her.
Yeah, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. That pissed me off so bad, and it has relevance to the story at the very end, which is the other point I wanted to bring up. Future of Kingdom Hearts.
Right.
Sora's gone. He's nowhere to be found. He was lost using the power of waking, which they didn't explain exactly how. They didn't explain how he would be lost, but that he wouldn't be able to come back. So we don't know necessarily.
In San Francisco, young Xehanort has a line where he's talking about, it's a little muddy because he first mentions how like the Lich is the Lich is a heartless that drags hearts deeper into darkness, and then he says that the power of waking is traveling between hearts to move between worlds. And he compares it, he's like, it's not moving between worlds in search of hearts, it's moving between hearts in search of worlds, I think is the line.
Yeah.
So basically like what Sora does is, travel through the connections between people rather than like world to world, So basically like it's a little confusing, I guess, because of the fact that like Kairi apparently is fine and alive at the end there, so somehow she came back. So we don't know.
He saved her.
Well, we don't even know if he saved her. Somebody saved her, but like if he's not back, like to me, it sort of doesn't make sense that he would have saved her and brought her back, but not himself back. So that's why we have this question of what happened to him at the end. Where is he? And then there's the secret movie.
And why is she crying as well?
Right. Well, I'm crying, I guess, because he's not there,
Right.
Which makes sense, I think, sort of like no matter what,
Right.
And also probably knowing that he disappeared, while searching for her.
Yeah.
But then there's a secret movie that has Sora wake up in a city, and then Riku is also there, and then Zora from Verum Rex is there.
Yeah.
And then a guy in a black cloak is there. And I was reading about it, and apparently that the city that they're in is actually Shibuya in Japan, which is apparently where Verum Rex takes place. Like in the fake trailer, you can see like a sign that is like an actual sign in Shibuya, apparently. So that kind of like confirms that they are actually like in that game's world, basically. So, I mean, who knows if that is actually going to be an actual thing, for the future of Kingdom Hearts. I remember when I played the Verum Rex thing, I was just like, yo, I'd play that game. Like if Square decided to actually make it. So it's kind of hilarious to think about the idea that they may have actually meant to do that.
Right.
Um,
There's another big things I want to touch base on.
right.
So, right before the secret ending,
Hmm.
Xigbar.
Right.
Xigbar was the keeper of the box
Yes, which they didn't
the
open.
whole time, which they didn't open.
Yeah.
I'm pissed.
I've
I was
actually come.
pissed.
I've actually come around on that a little bit.
I should say I
on what's
was
in the
pissed.
box. So, yeah. So we find out that Xigbar is actually Lucio. He was Lucio the whole time. Um, if you read the secret reports in the game, the last 3 of them are written by him. So you get a sense of like what he was doing in his like mind state at the time, and he refers to the fact that I think I actually have it pulled up here, or maybe I don't anymore. That like part of the Master of Masters design or whatever was for the second Keyblade. The second Keyblade were to happen for a real Kingdom Hearts to be summoned, and then the Lost Masters would return, and then the Master of Masters would return. So I know there are a lot of people. One of the main theories about what's in the box, the 2 main theories were that it was the Keyblade, which I didn't believe, and obviously was not the case because they summoned the Keyblade, or the Master of Masters himself, which I actually like.
That doesn't make sense because he gave him the box.
Yeah, but if he kept his essence inside of it or something like that, could be a more convenient way to travel to the future versus what Lucio had to do with just swap bodies endlessly. And meanwhile, the foretellers were, as far as I know, like dead, I think, the entire time until Kingdom Hearts was opened and he somehow summoned them back, except for Ava, who is elsewhere for some reason. Yeah, I mean, that's going to obviously tie into the future. Also, I read that, so the scene that happens right after that scene, he's like, oh, I have a really long story for you guys. And then it cuts to young Xehanort and young Ericus, and they're playing chess again. So Ericus lines up 7 black pieces, excuse me. And then like with 1 white piece is like, oh, here, watch. And then smash cuts to black. The 7 pieces, 5 of them are like the heads on them are the same animals that the foretellers wear on their heads. And then I forget what this one of them is. Presumably it stands for Lucio, who does. I don't know if he has like a symbol. And then the other one is like the heart with like the sort of frilly stuff around it is the same symbol that's on the Book of Prophecies. So obviously it must stand in for the Master of Masters symbol. So versus 1 light piece, maybe Sora comes back and fights the 7 of them as they're all evil now or something. Who knows? Who knows?
Interesting.
It's the future.
So before we dive way deep in the lore again,
Yeah, let's back
because
out.
this is because that's totally. I mean, it's relevant to because it all is presented in 3.
Yeah, I mean, if we're just gonna like make one like I guess final note about it is that like this is all just sort of because of trying to make connections about where the rest of the Kingdom Hearts series is going to go. Obviously they're continuing this story in Union Cross. That's going to bring us up to the point where we find out, I guess, how Ventus gets to where he is. Especially since we know for sure that is the same Ventus because his Chirithy shows up at the end. Who I totally called that was his Chirithy when you meet him in the final world. But anyway, And then obviously the next stage of the story, whether it deals with the VRMX stuff or not, is obviously going to be addressing the foretellers returning, Zigbar slash Lucio. Which, if you recall, I also called. I said, "Why is Zigbar acting like he's the one who's in charge here?" You know, when he was talking to Xemnas and Ansem, and it was
Mm-hmm.
because he secretly had his own shit going on. That's why.
Yep. You're like Zigbar's being like aggressive, like he's above everyone, and
Yeah,
it's
like
like,
he's
oh no, he's onto it.
yeah,
Yeah. I had like guesses. I had the same thoughts. I was like, wait, why is Zigbar talking to them like he runs the place? Like that's weird. Um, one last final thought. You had texted me about this, but Roxas still having two Keyblades.
yes,
You had said that it doesn't really make sense
right.
because he no longer has like the Heart of Sora.
Well, Snow. So the original explanation for why he's able to wield two Keyblades is because he absorbs Shion at the end of 358 days,
Oh, right.
and then when he returns to Sora, Sora gains the ability to use two Keyblades. I mean, I personally don't. I mean, if Roxas sort of signature is being able to wield two Keyblades, so if they want to give him two Keyblades at the end of the game, like that's fine, whatever. I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. I just did think it was kind of funny, like it didn't really line up anymore with where the story was at, basically.
Right. Cool. So the whole game.
Okay, big
Wrap it up.
picture.
Big picture.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of people shitting on this game right now.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts?
On people shitting on it, or like my opinion of what I thought
Your
of the
opinion
game.
on the game.
So my
I don't
opinion of the
care
game.
about the people.
I was actually just at Best Buy a little while ago, and I spoke to like the cashier who was there when I bought the game, and he was like, "Yeah, I got mixed feelings about it, man. Kingdom Hearts 2 is my favorite game of all time, but this one I feel like, didn't live up as much." Um, I liked it a lot. All right, let me rephrase that so I sound more enthusiastic. I loved it. Unequivocally loved it. I have like really minor problems with it. Like I said, I didn't really care for like the Tangled level, chunks of certain levels I didn't care for. But like to me, all that stuff is like minor. Also, there are a couple things that don't necessarily line up, like the whole thing with Roxas and why does he have two Keyblades. Um, but and I also wish that they had delivered on the
The black
Keyblade Legacy
box.
thing. I wish that they had opened the
That.
box. I wish that No More hadn't lied to us about the box.
Yeah, that's like my main and like one of my only complaints on the game is that the box is still closed.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's some DLC that's coming that it's going to open it. I mean, because they said the epilogue wasn't on the disc, but that scene is called epilogue, so presumably that came in on a patch. Um, so yeah, so they didn't open the box, but like I'm okay with that stuff because I would rather them push that to a new game, which we speculated the Union Cross stuff was set up for a future game anyway. So I had that in the back of my mind. Like I knew the Master and Masters wasn't supposed to show up in this game. So even if they had opened the
Right.
box, it would be just like a tease for what was to come anyway. So like I'm kind of okay with them pushing that because like it can just live in my head for a little while longer. That's fine. Um, like I said, I wish that they had delivered on like the Keyblade wielders thing. Um, I noticed that like Demix kind of just disappears after he delivers Ansem the Wise, so he's still like in play basically.
Yeah.
He's one of the good guys now, even though we
So is
don't.
Vexen.
Yeah, well, I mean, Vexen isn't one of the Keyblade wielders.
Oh right.
So but Marluxia, Larxene, and Luxord are elsewhere basically at this point. So that would have been cool to see. I'm trying to think of like what other like complaints I might have had. I think there was just in terms of like side content, there was like, I was disappointed that there was no Coliseum to do like those kind of fights. I also though will follow up that by saying like I don't feel like it would have been necessary for me to do any of them because the game wasn't really I played it on proud mode the first time. didn't even feel like I never had to grind or anything. I didn't even
Yeah,
I did one of the battle gates in the last labyrinth just to see what it was, but like I didn't need it, and now if I want to go back into the game and 100% I get the platinum, get sword level 99, there are those battle gates in the game that I guess kind of fill that void of going to a coliseum and fighting. So I guess that's whatever. um and then I didn't really do like any of the gummy phone mini games. I did some cooking with Remy and then like forgot about it basically. And then like the Winnie the Pooh level was kind of a letdown because it was just 3 or 4 versions of the same mini game. I know, like, I feel like I'm trying to like fish for things that bother me about it because like overall, like I really enjoyed my experience and I feel like I got out of it everything that I wanted. You know, in terms
I agree.
of like the main core narrative, you know, that the game set out to deal with and answer. Everything lined up.
Per-
Fan theories. What's it?
Perfectly balanced,
Yes, perfectly
as all
balanced.
things should be.
Yeah, light and dark and perfect balance. Um, but yeah, I feel like all that stuff worked out. And like I said before, all of the stuff that they left dangling is all like stuff that is more from like the Union Cross background. Which, like I said, I was already expecting to be the tie-in, the lead into the next thing.
Which
Um,
I have thoughts on real quick once we're done.
yeah, I'll wrap up here by saying like I'm totally floored by the idea that Sora like doesn't come back even though Kyrie is still back. Like I'm not 100% sure how to feel about that. And if they had wrapped everything up with a nice neat bow and then done that, I would have been like, well, you can't end the series this way. But the fact that they've said even like a year ago, they've said this isn't the end of Kingdom Hearts as a series, it's the end of this particular chunk of it. Like I understand Sora's probably coming back in some form. And it would even be cool to play as just Riku for an entire game or something. You know what I mean? Like, and I guess you sort of half got that in Dream Drop, but
And that was one of my favorite games. So
right, yeah, I mean that's one of
I
the best
also
games.
I
And
also
Birth
love
by Sleep
Riku.
is
So
also maybe the best game in the series. And you don't play a Sora in that one at all. So I don't know. It's sort of a weird ending to tack on during right before the credits roll. But in terms of them trying to, I get why they did it. Like I've said, like I don't know if I've mentioned it on here before. I know I've said this to you like in private. Like my thing about Kingdom Hearts, its story, whether it's convoluted or whatever, is that like you're not jumping into just like a game in a series. It's not like the I think maybe we're spoiled by the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the sense that you can kind of jump into any of those movies and figure out what's happening. Like this is season 8 of Game of Thrones basically. you know you
I
can't
agree.
jump into that and expect to understand like what's happening on a plot level. If you want to just play the game, like that's fine. Like I'm not going to tell anybody not to do that. um
And I have a response to that real quick.
but knowing that this is the season of Kingdom Hearts has ended and a new season will happen in the future, like I'm fine with that. you know so I guess that's probably the end of my ramble.
And that's why um this is what I actually replied to someone saying this. The people that did not like this game is because A, they completely skipped over all the information in Union Cross,
Mm-hmm.
or B, they haven't played all of the games because they think that it should just be 1, 2, 3,
Right.
and they don't understand that the side games aren't actually side games. They're all relevant into the story.
Right.
And there's a few minor things, like people are annoyed that, like, oh, it's just a Disney level, but like, and then there's random cutscenes after that. But that's how Kingdom Hearts has always been. It's been you're going to a world for this reason. You know, you get caught up in the Disney story, and then something usually happens at the end of it that,
Right,
you
to
know,
push the
brings you
story
back
along.
on the push the story. That is what it's always been. So for people to complain about that for this game, it's ridiculous because that's what this series has always been.
Right.
You know, um, so again, I think the people that didn't like the game just aren't as caught up on the lore as we are, and like are super excited about everything that actually happened because it's like,
Mhm.
I'm sure as soon as Maleficent brought up the black box, people were like, "What the fuck? Like, what is that? Like, I don't know what that is." Like, people that have never even touched Union Cross, you know. Um, and same thing with like all of the information, like especially like the ending, the epilogue. That's going to confuse anybody that knows nothing about that.
Right.
So I don't know. There's a popular video out right now that someone brought up in one of our comments that I replied to. Normally, I agree with some of the stuff that the YouTuber says, but I disagree on this one because he gave Kingdom Hearts a 1. Basically, he said it was horrible,
Right. Yeah,
and
I
I was like,
watched that after I saw your comment. And
yeah,
right, I'm with you. I mean, I'm kind of over the whole well, Kingdom Hearts is confusing thing at this point
because we
because
understand it because we actually read into it.
yeah, well, not even just that because like I don't actually think that it requires like extracurricular reading. You know,
Right.
it's like what I said before about is being season 8 of Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Like I just have a hard time feeling sympathy for people that will knowingly put themselves in that position because it's a meme that Kingdom Hearts doesn't make sense, and then they'll jump in and be like, oh, well, let's see how bad it really is. And they'll go, oh my God, this is such a mess. Like I've seen some people like just using your example of like the black box thing when she's like, I'm looking for this black box. Like you don't need to have an answer to that because we don't know what's in the black box, you know?
Right.
We just know that it exists. So I have seen some people like from the jump in Olympus when she says that, complaining about that kind of stuff, and my response is just that like you don't need an answer to every single thing as it's happening, like I forget if it was a video you mentioned or if it was something else that I read where it was somebody saying that like the stuff was just happening, with no explanation, and like I really disagree with that because of the fact that it all makes sense, when Vanitas shows up in Monstropolis, like he's there for a reason and you can understand that reason if you listen to even what he's saying, like I felt that this game actually did a pretty good job of explaining its story as it was happening, but then you get people complaining that there's too much exposition and that the game isn't just letting things happen. It's like, well, you can't have it both ways. Like if you don't know the whole story going into it, they have to tell you somehow, you know
Yeah. And that's another thing people were complaining about, like how many cutscenes there were and all. It's like, what did you want? Like, it's a big game trying to wrap up an entire story of how many
yeah.
years? What were you expecting? I personally love the fact that there were that many cutscenes because they were all done super well,
Right.
and it gave you valid story points. Instead of complaining about the cutscenes, you should have just shut up and watched them so that you understood the story. But I'm done ranting. I love the game. I know you love the game.
Right.
I'm not going to bash on anybody else's opinion, but they're entitled to it. But I love the game, and I'm standing by that. So
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it just comes from like a place of frustration, when it's like I said, like I have problems with a lot of like the levels at some points and in a lot of the mini games and gimmicks and things like that. But also in the video you referenced, there's a point where he says that the Disney worlds are just like I'm sort of like paraphrasing, but basically like the Disney worlds are sort of like side junk to distract you up until the developers can tell the story they really want to tell, which is just anime characters punching each other. And when I heard that, I was just like, well, yeah, like why is that a problem? Like that's literally the story of the game, like I think it's weird. Sometimes people complain that there's too much Disney, and some people complain that there's not enough Disney, you know. But even like you said, like this is what the series is,
It's how it's always been. So I don't understand where that's coming
Yeah.
from. Is it because you just took like a 14-year break and you haven't played it, or like it's
Well, I
very
also
comparable to all the previous games. Like that's all I'm saying.
yeah, because I get it if you don't like it in general, but the argument that like it's inferior to the previous games because of that, yeah, definitely doesn't hold water for me because it's like you're misremembering those games, if you think that. And it's like I told you when I replayed Kingdom Hearts 1 is that I played um when I played Dream Drop, I made the comment about how like a lot of those worlds felt really small and you're in a lot of like condensed hallways, which I later realized is because of the flow motion system. Um, but I had this idea in my head that Kingdom Hearts 1 had these really big levels, which it doesn't. That game has really small, tight quarters. Up until like Hollow Bastion is the only level that I would consider approaching something big and explorable. Maybe Cave of Wonders in Aladdin. You know,
Right.
Neverland is 8 rooms on a pirate ship. You can't really move around, do anything in there. And it was sort of more Kingdom Hearts 2 that ends up opening up the level design a lot better. But like that was a problem with me. Like I didn't necessarily realize that until I went back to play the original one. But like that was a problem with like my perspective on the game. Like it's not a fault of the game itself. It's been me for a while to dunk on Kingdom Hearts for being silly and convoluted. But like I haven't met a single serious fan of the series that doesn't acknowledge that openly and be like, hell yeah, I love that.
Exactly.
The silly anime bullshit is like what I'm here for.
Exactly.
I'd like to recommend it to people that haven't played the other ones if you just want to try it. But like I said, like just chill out on the story. Like you don't need to understand everything all at
Right in the
once.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah, just like let it because like Sora doesn't necessarily understand, everything that's happening all at once because he doesn't have, the omniscience that the audience has to see every character's perspective every time they're in a cutscene, So you're sort of more like him if you don't 100% know what's happening. Like, and that's okay. Just like let it happen. Just watch, enjoy the gameplay, learn the systems, mess around in combat. Don't just hit the X button, move around a bit. It's a lot of fun when you move around, I promise.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts?
I mean, I have tons, but we've already been talking for about an hour
About
again.
an hour. Yeah, when it was supposed to be short.
Yep. And I knew that would happen. So we'll probably we may as well start a series about Kingdom Hearts lore.
Yeah, probably.
But I don't know. Final thoughts. Like I said, I really love the game. I think for people like us that are really invested in it and understand what they're trying to accomplish, it was a great game. And for people that are, you know, I don't, I don't even know how to approach that, but the people that are very like into memeing it and saying that it's convoluted and doesn't make sense and it's just like Disney and then whatever. But I loved it. I don't really care what other people thought about it.
Right.
Like as far as like the negativity, but all around really good game. My only wish is that they had Final Fantasy characters in it because there were none in this one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's funny going back to our earlier video when I mentioned that I hadn't seen any yet, and I was like, oh yeah, there's toys in Toy Story.
But that's why I said like when you mentioned that, I don't know if you like saw my face in that
I saw
video.
your face, yeah, but I was like, does he mean that they're not going to show up at all, and I'm not going to see them for a long time? I wasn't sure how to.
Yeah. Literally, the only one is Cloud at the very beginning, and he's just very briefly mentioned.
Cloud and Orange also mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. Because
because
even with the Disney stuff, it's like I'm not even really there for the Disney stuff anymore. To me, like that's window dressing. That's the context to get to the story that I'm interested in. Like
yeah.
Like I didn't watch the trailers and things like that because I wanted to be surprised like the worlds I'm exploring, but like primarily I'm more interested in what's the story of Sora and Kingdom Hearts itself, not
exactly
the worlds. So
Cool.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, I think we'll have more to say on the future of the series in general as we uncover things from the secret side of Kingdom Hearts.
And the Union Cross updates as they come out.
And Union Cross updates as they come out, yeah. Because
I'm going to start playing that. I'm going to start playing it more. I did start it a while ago, but I'm going to start playing it more.
Yeah, you should. I mean, you have time because even like the stuff that I mentioned is happening right now. It's happening right now in Japan. So there's technically the English version doesn't have a lot of that stuff yet. So yeah, you got plenty of time to catch up. Cool. So that's Kingdom Hearts 3 for now. We are going to be doing streams of that. Spence, you want to mention them one more time?
So, yep. As I mentioned in the previous video, if you made it that far, and if you're making it this far, I am going to be making a schedule that I'm going to be posting to Twitter about when I am going to do a world by world type of stream. So I'll probably do one world per stream. So that way we can post it to our channel and you guys can enjoy that. And more details to come on Twitter at BrotherlyLoveG1.
Dope. And I'm also continuing to blog about the game on my own blog on alexstrine.com. I'm actually a little bit behind right now because I'm dying here. The ending is so long. I didn't know how to like break it up to write about it, so I'm like behind on that. But those are going to be coming, and then I'm going to be doing more thoughts on that as well as I continue to play through it. And then, of course, like we said, we'll probably be doing some more lore dumps and things like that on here, just because there's so much more to talk about still, and who knows when the next game's coming.
Right.
So that's going to be it for now. Like us and subscribe on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to the audio, please leave us a review on iTunes so that iTunes will tell people that people like us. Until then, I've been Alex. That guy's been Spence. And I think I plugged everything we need to plug. So let's wrap it up now. We'll talk to everybody next time. Goodbye.
See ya.